What is going on, Ben people? It's your boy UT here, back with another video. I'm back with another episode of the Tea and Tackles podcast. We're now on episode 5. If you're wondering why me and Ziggy are in the same room, we just finished a watch along of the United Chelsea game. Much better than United Newcastle at the weekend, which means we have a happy Ziggy sat beside me. 2-1 the final score in end-to-end game. Could have been a good game. But how are we doing, boys? All right?
Doing good now.
Yeah, very good. Looking forward to watching these highlights later.
Yeah, so definitely some good games today, which we can delve into. I guess we'll start with the United game. 2-1, big win, big result. Chelsea looking very open at the back.
Yeah, I mean, all right. So I've got a lot of things to say about United that I planned pre this game happening, but to be honest, nothing has really changed in terms of what I wanted to say. But yeah, Chelsea looked open. I don't really have much more to say about that. Like they did, I haven't really rated them, and I think like Jake said, Nkunku maybe can come in and do something and provide some stability, but I'm just not really seeing anything from them at the moment. So what I want to talk about United is I really looked into Ten Hag's playing style and his philosophy and what he really plans to do, and looked a little bit back at some Ajax clips and watched some kind of tactics videos. And generally what I came to the conclusion is he wants to play high pressing, ball recoveries as far up the pitch as possible, which at points we have seen United have been league leaders for recoveries highest up the pitch. And so essentially that philosophy comes down to high pressing all over the pitch and a high line. And I just think if you look at what he's been talking about in press conferences, he's basically said in a very coded way, I don't have the players to play this style. And I think that's essentially what we've really seen. Okay, yeah, we're going to get into Maguire, player of the month or whatever in a bit, but Maguire and whoever he's next to, Evans or Lindelof, they do not have the speed and the dynamic ability to play that high line. And so basically we end up we don't play out the back from Onana. He just end up long balls. Then when it comes to the high press, what essentially we saw today was without Rashford and without Martial, we saw that high press a lot more. We saw Garnacho putting in the runs, putting in the work. We saw Anthony. Yes, he's got stick, but I think really he's a 15, 20 million pound player. And if he'd be bought for that, he wouldn't be getting the criticism that he has, right? Højlund, again, puts in the effort, makes the presses. Bruno, again, does that work. And then we have a bit of the inconsistency on the wings for me because we don't really know. We don't have the partnerships between the fullbacks and the wingers, and we don't really play like Tottenham plays with these kind of inverted fullbacks, and Liverpool the same, where Trent or Udogie come in and overload the midfield. And we don't really have a consistent style of whether we do that or we don't. Delo sometimes will come in and invert, but actually Shaw doesn't really. He does the overlaps, but then when he overlaps, Rashford never tracks back for him, which is how you cover each other basically on the wing. So for me, I'm just in this position where Maguire can't be playing the high line. He just struggles so much against any big team. And even today against Chelsea, we looked really open when Chelsea broke. And
both teams did, didn't they?
Yeah, they probably should have had a couple goals. And so for me, I just think the other thing as well is you need to have that high pressing. You need to press from the front, which Rashford does not do. Martial does not do. Yep. Anthony Martial is just the French Raheem Sterling, if Raheem Sterling was worse than he is.
That's saying so much.
It's just they're just lazy, and it doesn't work. And then in the engine room, if you look at who we're supposed to be starting in our midfield, okay, McTominay's tearing it up, but it's Casemiro and Eriksen who are leggy. Eriksen is dead after 30 minutes. He can't press for the whole game. It's just not working with the players we've got. And so what that brings me down to is it is the most confused. I can understand all the signings he's made for that structure, except for Mason Mount. Mason Mount makes no sense to me whatsoever. because he just doesn't fit into any of those plans. But I don't
He
know.
does
I
have
want to see
energy
what-
though.
Yeah,
like I
want to
would
see
say Mount is a player
Yeah.
that does bring
Right.
energy to the squad. So I guess if you're saying his tactics are he wants high pressing players with a lot of energy, kind of I guess similar like that Bielsa style, then if you're focusing so much on fitness and energy, but he wants that top tier quality. But then it comes to the factor of like you've got these big players, but is it the factor that like he's scared to drop them, he can't drop them because he feels like these other kids can't do a job, but they suit his system more? Like my question is how, if that is his style of play that he wants to play, why is Palestri not getting played on the right? I'm sorry. Like we've seen an impact what Garnacho can do. He's up and down. Today, his fitness were unreal. Up and down that left flank. Every time he got the ball, taking someone on. Palestri's the same on that other side, as well as adding more supply to Højlund up top. But he works under Bielsa at Uruguay, so he's a player that his fitness and energy is up there as well. Bielsa's players, their fitness and energy are up there with the best in the world. That's why Leeds did so well. So it's like, if that is his style, then he has to back himself and pick the players that fit that style. But then what we were talking about earlier, I guess, is the bigger players, then they can cause a ruckus, or if he's in a tough situation. And I guess that's why we don't see a style of play. Sometimes you watch United, I'm like, I don't know what they're trying to do here. I don't know whether they're trying to sit back and counter. I don't know why they're trying to press. And maybe that's why, because he's stuck with players, big name players that he has to play, but they don't suit his style.
I mean, Ten Hag is a coach at the end of the day. And I don't really understand when you say don't have the players. I mean, that's been an excuse for every Man United manager since Ferguson. Ferguson's teams, sometimes they were questionable, playing people in various positions that they weren't supposed to be playing in.
Yeah.
You should see some of those lineups, and they're playing in like semi-finals.
Johnny Evans in midfield.
Exactly. And then it's been Mourinho, Van Gaal, Ranić, all the same. And then you see Poch getting the style of play out of a second 11 Tottenham team. I mean, he should be there to coach the players.
What does that also... Sorry.
He's a coach, so like I don't know why you can't coach the players into a system. They're not some of them world-class players, and the rest of them are Premier League players. So
some players
it
don't
shouldn't
want
be that hard to.
They don't have
I know
to.
they don't want to, but
you know what I mean? Like Rashford, if I'm on 200 grand a week and you're asking me at work, I'm like, maybe I don't work, and then if I cause enough ruckus, I'm that big of a name that they'll just replace you with someone else, and maybe they'll fit my style of play. United, I think I've got an ego about it.
That's the thing. It's like, firstly, I think there's a bit of politics in that, like he's done this whole thing of dropping Sancho and it's become such a big deal. And he even took Maguire out of the team, and now Maguire's forced his way back in, basically just, in my opinion, by being available. And when everybody else isn't.
Player of the month, bro.
Yeah, player of the month, okay. But like, dropping Rashford, when Rashford really is like the Manchester talisman, through the academy, he's like the face of the team, and to drop him as well, I think he sees the implications of doing that. And yeah, for me it's just these players want to play counter attack, lazy, not put in the work football. And that's why when Ranić came in, Ranić's like the god of gegenpress or whatever, right? Wrote the book on tactics of pressing. And
what press do you say?
Of the old gegenpress. How do you say it? I don't know.
Make sure you're saying that right.
Gegenpress, yeah.
It's the gegenpress, yeah.
That's correct. Yeah. But like he basically said, this team needs open heart surgery. Like, it's just pure laziness. And we've had these comments come out from Matic this week saying that he used to have to basically make a list of all the players who turned up late and had to pay a fine, and he was like in charge of it basically. And the most common people turning up late were Pogba and Sancho, and they ended up raising 75 grand in fines. I don't know how much each fine for being late was, but like, if it's getting play a run, there's no way it's like £1,000 each time. It's going to be like, I don't know, 500, 200 or something.
Maybe it's how late you are.
That's right. Yeah, or how late you are too could contribute. But like, I just think there's this culture of just laziness and like players not wanting to drive home in the dark. So like under Ranić, and just this ridiculous attitude. And for me, the team today was so much better without Rashford in it, and I think Garnacho had a great game as well. Garnacho and Bruno looked really sharp.
Amrabat were better in the midfield.
Yeah.
He maybe didn't stand out today, but he had a better game than what we've seen, which is not saying much.
There was just effort there, and from everyone. And so, for me, like it. And then Shaw moved into centre back because Lindelof was injured, I think, at halftime, and Reguilon came in and put in some effort again. And for me, I think these players that just expect to be in the team week in, week out need to get dropped and just play kids,
Jaden, going back to your point then, how much, like you're saying it's a coach's responsibility, and we're basically saying like there's only so much coach can do with the players that is given. Like, how much do you think this United side is, how much you blame Ten Hag and how much you blame the players? You're obviously more on the players' side, maybe?
I don't agree with the players. I mean, the culture is bad from the top, so I think that needs to change before the players change. But the hierarchy needs to back the manager, because they've backed the players every time. And now there's a culture of you can just kick them out. Doesn't matter. Their players are safe. They still have the money. And then rumors of 50% of the dressing room is lost. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Apparently, there's rumors 50% of dressing room is lost. How? Why? I mean, they're playing
because he's asking you to work.
To be honest,
I don't even.
They're playing poorly, and actually, to be honest, they're getting results somehow. Annoyingly, really annoyingly.
Yeah, somehow.
I mean,
but they just got to support the manager for once.
Yeah, I have 2 points.
Long term, and that's long term, not for a year, not for two, long term.
Yeah, I have 2 points on that. Firstly, I think the 50% of the dressing room thing, I think that's way too much of a percentage. I genuinely think these leaks are coming from...
Is that the big boys, do you think?
I think these leaks are coming from Rashford. Like, I genuinely think they're coming from his camp at this point. And I think he's a bit pissed off because his boy Sancho's not in the team, and he's being asked to do more than he wants to do. And to be honest, every time I hear about who the leaders in the dressing room are, it's always said that essentially there's leaks that come out here or there, but it's generally said that it's Bruno, Casemiro, Martinez, and Luke Shaw. Those are the people who speak up and are kind of considered the leaders of the group. Where is Rashford in this group? This is the guy who's on the most money of everyone at the team, and he's on 350k a week, I think. And this guy cannot be asked to run back and track back for one. And he can't be asked to get involved and actually lead. He's more busy feeding kids than he is actually in doing his job. Like, he's not doing anything.
He never gives a ball. Well, that's what I'm saying. You make a signing like Højlund.
He loses the ball more than anyone in the team. And even though people criticize Bruno for that, he loses the ball way more than Bruno does. But Bruno's a creative midfielder. That's his job, to like create things and like try stuff. Rashford's job is to provide and goals and to provide crosses, and he does neither of those at the moment. And so that's my first point. My second point is, like you said, it comes from the top, and the recruitment. I was thinking back at the recruitment, and it's so strange. Like, if you look at the players Ten Hag originally wanted, like the De Jongs, and he wanted Gravenberch at points, those fit into the midfield issue that I was talking perfectly. But then we ended up with Casemiro, which I don't know if you remember how Casemiro got signed. We had a terrible game against Brentford or something. I can't remember who it was. And Casemiro called his agent and said, "I can fix this at United. Get me to United." We're not reaching out to players. We're just having people call us up and be like, "Oh, you want Casemiro?" Like, it's not. I'm sure that's what happened with Mount as well, because the signing makes zero sense.
Does that not fall into your... It seems that the fans cause a ruckus every transfer window because we're not bringing enough players in or players that suit the style. And then what the owners do, or whoever's in the hierarchy, they make one like high key signing or one signing that they spent 67 million. It's kind of a way to just kind of shush the fans up a little bit rather than actually thinking about the team. Or it seems like we sign a Sancho, you sign a world-class player in Varane or Casemiro to basically get the fans off your back, but then nothing really goes into place in the team, whether they fit in a system or that. It's just that marquee signing that seems to like, just let's get everyone off our back for a little bit again.
That's exactly.
It's such poor leadership from the top. I mean, that's why you need to get Sir Jim Ratcliffe in, and then whoever sporting director. There needs to be an identity, like a well thought out process on who you're buying, because it's happened for now a decade, and it's a mess. Yeah. And I think that's the only way it's going to change. And I don't know if and when is he got the 25% yet, or
it's supposed to be announced on Monday, but it's been supposed to be announced next week
every
for
Monday.
About 17 weeks. So, but I mean, I think the perfect example of that is the Greenwood situation. Almost everybody has said the same thing. Like, the worst possible thing you can do is say we're bringing him back and then flip-flop and then say we're not bringing him back because of the pressure. Like, you make the decision one way or the other as your club and back it. Like, it just looks so pathetic and weak, and like, oh, we're under pressure, like from Richard Arnold, really. It's just him trying to be like, oh, I don't know what to do, like, I'm under pressure, which comes from him being a weak leader, for one, but also comes from the Glazers just saying zero, essentially, and not having basically any input. And so you just end up with these really like lukewarm decisions all the time that you just go back on, and then it's like, panic, and
I think nothing,
panic, do this, panic, do that. You know,
I think nothing can really happen until they, like you say, if Ratcliffe comes in and then takes over and eventually gets majority or whatever it is. There seems to be a situation. I don't think much can really change while they're at the top, basically in control of the majority of things, because they're not focused on United as a club, or, you know, to them it's a business. Like you say, like, they don't spend money and then they spend one marquee signing just to shut everyone up because they don't want everyone on the back, because they don't care about the football club. So maybe Ratcliffe will come in if he's a big football head and maybe change things if he can grab some of that power from them, because like you said, it does filter down from the top. Something's not right.
Ziggy, are you a bit gutted that you didn't get the Qataris in? Because I'm pretty sure they would have sorted it out straight away.
I mean, yeah, I think it would have just sorted it out instantly. But the thing I think as well is it's not even that the Glazers treat it as a business, because they don't run it as a business. They treat it as an asset on a balance sheet that they use for leverage to get money in loans. That is it's just like, it's a family investment, which it's just like buying a bunch of like bonds and just holding them and then never looking into the company of those bonds, right? It's like buying, okay, say you just bought Microsoft and you own 25% of it, and you never had any interest in the company or technology, you know nothing about computers, and you're like, I assume it's going to do all right, like whatever. Whereas if you're an actual investor in a business, generally you want to know what the business is doing, and if there's bad decisions being made, you're going to vote out certain people in the company, you're going to make decisions at the board meeting. Like, they don't even turn up to the board meetings. Like, they do the bare minimum.
Look at City and Newcastle. The owners have come in and they've revamped the training grounds, the stadium. Like, they're making all these changes. United used to be, you know, one of the biggest, best places, facilities in the league, but you've still got the same facilities that you had 20 years ago when, you know, all Scholes and Neville and Beckham, when they were coming up. Nothing's changed. The stadium's all rusty. So like you say, they clearly don't care. Yeah. Like, it's clearly not an investment for them. It's just some sort of money flow or something that's on the side.
Apparently Ronaldo said everything was the same when he came back, even the dinner lady.
I think it's a bit harsh on the dinner lady.
I mean, the staff.
I mean, the dinner lady's fine, but he's like,
she probably loves it. If you're going to be a dinner lady, be at United. You know what I mean? It's better than being at Bradford fucking school.
Anything's better than being at Bradford school.
No laptops in the exam, man. No laptops in the exam. Yeah. Anyway, I think we've covered United a bit.
Let's move on.
But I guess before we move on, we do have to talk about Harry Maguire, just announced Player of the Month for November. Jaden, I'll let you take the lead on this one out. What are we thoughts towards big slabhead with his yellow boots in a month that they've not got really? We were looking what they beat Luton, Everton, and Fulham in November. Outside of that, they've not won any of the games. And as a defender, you beat 2 out of the bottom 3, and you're getting player of the month.
He's definitely had a bit of form for him from this season, if you can call it that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy for him because he's in the team now and he's actually performing. But he probably does have a couple mates on the committee that vote for it.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's the only way.
It's the only way. I'm sure there's definitely players that have performed better than him this month in the Premier League, which is a bit outrageous. But, I might have a look on Ultimate Team, see if I can get that card. Tasty 75 pace.
How was he getting 75 pace?
That's nothing on Ultimate Team. Back when we were kids, a centre-back with 75 pace was hard to find, man.
Yeah. You have to get like one of them like American...
Now they've probably all got 99. Oh, yeah. Do you remember him? Win? What did it win?
Win. 96 pace.
Oh, yeah. Rapid. Colorado Rapid.
Like you said, but how many more? I can't think off the top of my head. I mean, I think Doku's had a great month for City coming in. But players like that, I feel like have had such a major impact in probably the teams and maybe not City results. But
I could possibly say Declan Rice. I mean, he is a bit... He's like a complete midfielder now. Came up clutch again today. Like, he's performing so well. And actually, I saw that Arsenal fans have started a GoFundMe page on him. 25 million, because apparently he didn't cost enough.
Oh yeah. Oh, what, to give 25 mil to the club? To West Ham.
Nice.
Which is quite nice. But I mean, he potentially is one of the best midfielders this season in the Premier League. And annoyingly for me as a Tottenham fan saying that, I do like the guy. Yeah. He's very
well. He gets in our England team, doesn't he? He's
100%.
You can have preferences on players. There's certain players that we don't like, but you can't deny that they do add like he has added. That's what I'm saying. If he does get injured or they get a Saka injured, I think Arsenal will struggle if one of them key players gets injured because they're so crucial to that setup.
No,
I think you could also say Trent Alexander-Arnold could have a shout for Player of the Month as well. He's performing really well.
And his goals from right back, goal against City,
goals from right back,
goal the week before. Yeah, he's playing that weird inverted role that's now coming into the game. But
one against Fulham, but I mean, I think the free kick was an own goal from his free kick, which kind of should count as 2 goals for him. So he's performed so well, and I think him at centre mid is the perfect mix because everyone complains about his defending, and he's such a tactician, and his passing ability is up there with De Bruyne, maybe even better at times. He's a real player. He's a real player.
He gets found out at right back against a quick winger or something. That's when he struggles. But like you say, if attacking wise, they got to put him in the team. They're like, we will deal with defensively the mistakes, because then he might let a chance go at the back, but then he'll create 2 up front, or he'll whip a corner right on the spot.
And that's exactly what happened in the Fulham game. And they talked about it on Match of the Day as well, about whether he should move into the midfield. And I think he is just a complete liability at the back, though. That is the thing. Fulham basically were like, we are attacking down the right because Trent is not there, and it is a massive liability for Liverpool. And I don't see. The thing is, I guess, who do you move out of the Liverpool midfield to put him in? I think he should be probably in the midfield, but you can't drop Szoboszlai. Gravenberch has been class, and McAllister.
I think they can think of it more tactically, kind of like City. They're putting the centre back into centre mid when they're attacking. You can put the right back into centre mid. You can have a really solid back 3. You defend with a back 3 when you're attacking. I mean, there's definitely ways you can put it in, and then they have that 4 midfield that is disgusting.
With
Trent in and those other 3.
But
there's definitely ways.
Then you need someone more defensive than Robertson on the other side for me.
I prefer Robertson to Tsimikas, to be honest. I think that's probably why they're not been. Yeah,
I'd prefer a bowl of cereal to eating my own shit.
Shibakash used to be. I didn't realise how old he was, man. He's like what, knocking on 30, isn't he?
He's old, yeah. I got him in my fantasy team at the moment. He's actually playing. So
Yeah, is he on corners and that? He does.
he does. Yeah, he's got me a few assists.
Decent. He whipped in a few balls.
Yeah.
He's got a howler.
Every time Robertson gets injured, I put him in because he's definitely going to play, and he's like dirt cheap.
Well, he slipped up to lose. That was the one I had about on the other week, and he basically gave a goal away. But I guess who else we got? We got City today. Now I think that's got to be some sort of record. They've had 3 draws and a loss now, and the dominance today. I have never seen this City team or a Pep team have 2 shots in a game. Let me double check that, but for the majority of it, I think it was 2 shots all game, and they were 2 Haaland shots back to back, pretty much.
No corners either.
Yeah. He nearly hit a big parlay. He had Leon Bailey goal, which was a nice deflected goal, and exactly 8 corners, which at the end, City, I don't know how they're not whipping a ball in. I don't know what the philosophy is. Sorry, I'm just checking
I'm gonna need to watch that back shots. Because 2 shots. There you go.
2 shots confirmed. All game, and they came in the first 10 minutes. Have we ever seen a City team have 2 shots? And now we can give credit to Villa. We can say City clearly weren't good enough, but I guess is that a record? 3 draws and a loss. 4 games where City haven't won a game.
Also, I think this season, 2 losses in a row, which hadn't happened since Pep's first season. So this season is definitely a bit of a blip for them. I mean, they just won the treble. It might be a bit of that like post-treble motivation, but I'm not going to write off Pep because he can come back and win.
He can't. Did he see
so easily?
Did you see the thing with Carragher? Basically, I think the media were grilling. I don't know whether I'm butchering this, probably am, but the media was grilling Pep, and Pep said it's how hard it is to win 4 leagues in a row, and he basically pointed out the pundits. He said, Gary Neville could never do it, Micah Richards never got 4, and he said Jamie Carragher couldn't even grab 1. And then Carragher said, basically replied saying, well, maybe if I was in a team that was run by all this oil money in Saudis, that I might have a chance at winning the league. Which is this, but it is, you know what I mean? It's that consistent at that level at the top. We see it in fighting all the time. There's so many fighters in the past year, like UFC, Adesanya, and that have dominated for so long. At some point, there's like this complacency that comes in that is you feel like you're unbeaten, I guess. But Pep's seems to be a manager that is so good at managing that he says, like, even though we've won the treble, they still come back and they're relentless and they're ruthless year after year, which is it's tough to install in a team. But also, you know what I mean, we could be talking in a different. De Bruyne comes back, and there were no Rodri today, which was a huge miss. Rodri's always a big miss.
A record without him is absolutely abysmal.
You know what I mean? When them players are in there. They're a different team, so it's easy. But they are 4th now. Villa 3rd. I tipped Villa for a top 6 finish, put them on at the start of the season.
Credit Villa. I mean, I need to watch that game back today, but they've been unbelievable. Like, Unai Emery's got them working, really, really working and clicking and playing really well.
Sorry, just for the stats today, like you say, Villa. So Villa had 2.4 expected goals, or 2.04. We love it in expected goals. They had 22 shots with 7 on target. 2 big chances, missed 2 chances. City had 2 shots, 2 on target, 2 big chances, missed 2 big chances. So Haaland missed 2 shots that he could have scored from. But 22 shots to 2. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that to City in the past, from what I can remember in the past, in a Pep era. You have to give credit to Villa.
I mean, only watching it half because we were watching both games and we had it on the iPad and United game on the TV. But just every time I was watching, it was the City were just overcooking everything, not playing the simple passes that they used to, running into traffic, and just Villa were just really smooth and just really just like direct. As soon as they got the ball, it was like 1-2 passes.
Should have had a couple.
Leon Bailey's in. 1-2 passes. Somebody is through on the wing. Like, it was
even the corners. What were the corners like? 6-0.
Yeah.
City didn't even have one corner, so it just shows.
One corner in the entire game.
They had some chances. McGinn, Luis scored, got called back. Luis also hit the post.
Curled one in.
And you can't use that excuse against a team like Villa that they're a new team that are having to cope with playing European League football or whatever. And they play on a Thursday. So you talk about playing Champions League. I'm like, you also get an extra day's rest than Villa do, playing on a Thursday to then the weekend to then another midweek game. So that's not an excuse because you're playing against teams that are also doing that. And a City that has got more depth than anyone. And maybe, we see a lot of injuries now. There is too many games, I think. We're losing the quality of games because they're not as fun to watch. They're not as free-flowing as they should be. We're not getting as much of a tactical battle because either players are playing too much, they've run out on the feet, or we're swapping in. There were multiple times today we saw players that we've not really seen. Oscar Bob got a game. There was someone else for Chelsea who came on today that I've never seen before. That teams have to rotate because there is so many.
I would say along with that, there's been many injuries from quite a few teams. I mean, Man United, Tottenham, they're just two examples, and I think both have like an 11 out, like 11 players injured, which the amount of games might be bringing that on as well, which is tough.
Even Brighton. Brighton
are unbelievable.
Brighton have been unreal and played basically like a full roster of kids. Like
their teams are
the ages.
The front four, they're only Matoma who's 25 and Pascal Gross who's 32. Other than that, I think every player is 23 or under.
That's what you get
there were
from
4 19-year-olds in there, and they beat Brentford 2-1 today.
It's what you get from a well-run club. Every team plays the same way.
Like I say, from the top
to the bottom, and then they just slot in. I mean, they just slot in. There's no learning curve. They know exactly what job they need to do.
System, they fit the system. They get rid of the big players. They make a lot of money. Don't even really spend a lot of money, and still go on. I guess we could talk about. Did you manage to catch the game, Jaden, at Luton? Arsenal yesterday. We're talking about Rice. You can't help feel sorry for a team like Luton because a point in a game like that is huge.
They were the better team, flat out. Luton were the better team in that game. They were genuinely look. It's an entire team of League One caliber players. Okay, they've come up from the Blue Square Bet 20 years ago. Where they've risen through the ranks and they're playing with basically a washed up Townsend and Barkley, and they're looking really well drilled, really class, just exciting.
I mean, you link that back to Ten Hag, where you're saying that coach and the system. You look at, it's kind of, sorry to go back, but same with Bielsa when we came up. What he were doing was with a championship squad, what we spoke about before. So these coaches that they're so great implementing a system that basically, if they've got the right players or players that want to work for them, they can grind out points. They can get Luton at home is a tough place for anyone to go. I think we saw it yesterday against Arsenal, which they should have got a point. Liverpool had to score in last minute to get a point. That's what Forest did to stay up the year before. Is they make their home a fortress, which is a huge.
I mean, you
benefit.
Saw it in the Luton game though. The commentators were talking about how I think it's Doherty was just absolutely exhausted on Luton's side, and he comes off and there's a close up of him, and and you literally hear him say, "I'm absolutely shattered," into the camera, and he's just given it all, on the pitch. And I mean, a few really solid performances from individuals too. I think there's a potential that United regret selling Mengi. I think he's been very solid at centre back for Luton.
What about Chong?
I mean,
he did well for Birmingham.
See,
I think as well.
Yeah,
in the
I mean,
championship.
he's had some spells. I liked him when I've seen him. I don't know if I would say he's going to be a top player, but the thing is, it's going back to United again. That's a perfect example of last season or whenever. It was we need to sell, we need to clear the deadwood. So what we did is we just sold all the young players because those are the only players that people wanted, because all the older players are on massive wages. And it's that's not what anyone meant, okay? Sell all the youth, okay? It was, I'd rather see young players in the team who want to give it all for United as opposed to I don't know, some 90-year-old Phil Jones. Like, it's just not really like the point. Like, clearing out the deadwood means clearing out the players who are getting in the squad every week, you know. But back to Luton, like, it's so good to see a Bedfordshire team killing it in the league, doing really well.
I mean, it'll be a great story if they stay up. It's going to be really tough for them.
Do we think they stay up?
It'll be a great story.
I really love the manager.
I think they could do a Nottingham Forest.
I think Forest are slowly getting pulled into it, man. They've lost 5-0 today against Fulham.
There's a lot of away. They getting fired.
They haven't fixed their away form. You know, they still rely heavily on the home form, but I don't know.
I mean, Luton are already in double digits, and that's positive for this time of the season. And their home ground is a fortress, and that's what keeps teams up. You know, when they have a chance at home, all you need to do is have a good spell of, 5-6 wins, and you're right up there. But I did manage to see it, and it is gutting. Rice scoring the past the last minute. No, it was 6 plus 6. They went 7.5.
Yeah, it's always tough because they were a foul, and then you run 20 seconds over. They had a foul, and then everyone runs in the box. So you look at it from I'm the first one to jump on Arsenal, being like, oh, they didn't deserve it and everything. But it's tough to say it would pass the time limit when, you make a foul and then everyone pushes up. You kind of waste 40 seconds with setting up the free kick and everything. So by the time it's gone in, it looks worse, I guess, than it is. I mean, Arsenal pushing they want at the best, like they have been multiple times this season.
Raya making 2 mistakes, I would say, for 2 goals.
Well, yeah.
And
Ramsdale was pissing himself on bench. Did you see it when?
And he was, yeah. So what do you guys think? 2 first choice keepers is a good idea or not?
2 second choice keepers for me.
I mean, Arteta's said, and he come out and said that we want Ramsdale. I think Ramsdale's had plenty of interest, especially now Newcastle losing Pope. There's a couple of teams that I guess have pinpointed Ramsdale as maybe a replacement. It's tough, isn't it? Everyone's going to have a bad game, but for them, it's like most number ones, you have a bad game, you're going to be starting, you can prove yourself next week. These two have got if I make a bad game, then he might be in next week, and then I might not be able to get back in the squad if he has a good game. And it's detrimental to both of them, because then there's all this pressure all the time on both of them that neither of their spots is maybe secured. I do see Raya as the number one though. I think he's been bought for a reason.
Sorry, but is it different from any other player? Everywhere strikers, if they don't score, they get replaced. I don't see it being too much.
Competition's good, isn't it? Like you say, we rarely see this with keepers, because you have a clear out and out one, and then even Liverpool today, and then you got a young Kelleher who's, we're a little shaky. Sheffield could have scored at some points, but you have that out and out one that is just there. Same with Man City, Edison. You know what I mean? Rarely do any of these teams have 2 big keepers.
See, I just think you want that big, consistent triangle of goalie and 2 centre backs that just play.
Spine. You want the same.
The
spine.
Want that week in, weekend relationship, week in, week out relationship between players, and I don't know. I guess it's probably just the product of me growing up watching that kind of Vidic Ferdinand duo, and United have always in the past, Fergie era have always had that big centre back duo, and it's just so important. And all the teams who've done well, when you think of Company at City, always every week, Company's in the middle of that defense.
It's confidence, though, isn't it, as well? Have you ever, have you boys ever played on a Sunday or whatever, where your centre back's out or something, straight away before you even play the game, if someone's out at the back or this, because I feel like defenders and goalkeepers are such a strong presence in a team. Like you say, they're usually, majority of the time, the leaders, the one that puts everyone in shape, that bollocks everyone when they do wrong. They're the big, the ones that are kind of run the show. So if you're tinkering with that all the time, and you're swapping out the keepers, or you're swapping out a centre back, or you have no real, like you say, set system, I guess, Like you can swap a winger out. You can swap a. I'm with you. I think that that side of
I
it
also
has to be
agree.
set.
I also agree. Playing myself in a team, if you know, I would say two centre backs, keeper, and one holding midfielder or one solid midfielder. That really improves confidence. And for all the strikers and the wingers, more confidence players, like they perform well after a bit of form and a bit of confidence. They thrive off of that. So they know if they go forward, they're covered. They're going to be covered
Yeah.
by the back. And I think that's, the teams without the consistent centre back partnerships and no, goalkeeper that's not performing very well, it affects the whole team quite badly. Ziggy, what's a weekend relationship?
He's never had
Wait,
one.
what? Oh,
It's never had that.
Friday or Sunday, that's a
Off
Bedfordshire
to
thing.
Tenerife, Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a holiday
Yeah.
romance, but just a couple of days in
Couple of
Bedford.
days.
I do feel bad
Check
for
out Luton.
The Pilgrim's Progress.
going back to goalies. I do feel bad for Pope. Apparently, he's 4 months out.
Yeah, he's out a while, isn't he?
Yeah.
Who would you like to see there?
I mean, if you talk about injuries from Newcastle, I think they're up there with probably the most riddled squad going right now, and they've got Champions League games. I do feel bad for them. They've had it real tough. I do think someone like a Ramsdale would be a good fit at Newcastle. I think he's that type of player that if the fans and that installing the confidence and get behind him, like I do see him fitting in that system. I don't know who's kind of available though now, keeper-wise.
Rumours about De Gea.
Oh, De Gea, yeah.
But there's also rumours about De Gea going to Barca because ter Stegen's also injured, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's out for a bit.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy now. All the De Gea. I mean, he's definitely a good keeper, but I don't know why no one's going for Lloris.
Yeah, it's a real mystery. A 40-year-old Lloris
Lloris
with a howler in him.
Fraser Forster just signed a new contract with Tottenham, which I'm really happy about. I do like him as the number 2.
He's a prime example of, I think, a good number 2. He's someone that's not going to be unhappy. He's settled with, all right, I'm going to be maybe playing cup games or getting switched in every now and again. Like, you want someone that's not going to disturb the peace.
Oh, Brad Friedel.
Yeah, but it's a problem, like you said, when you got two keepers. It was solid, man. He would go until he were 40.
I'm not gonna lie. He was when Tottenham bought Lloris, he was keeping Lloris out of the team because his form was so good.
Yeah,
I love the guy.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think there's healthy competition for other positions. If a striker's not doing well, it's healthy to have someone else trying to push his way in. But the back with 2 ones, I think you're good having an out-and-out one and a guy who's happy being second. That's like Fraser Forster. He's quality. We've seen him at Southampton. Like he's a solid quality. He's happy. You'd happily have him in for cup games. The thing is the difference then if you have an out-and-out one and then you have, a backup like Man City had like Scott Carson. I know he was probably third for a while, but there were some periods where they didn't have basically I don't think a good enough 2 or a good enough guy behind that can come in then. I think a lot of teams are kind of in that boat that don't have a good enough backup keeper, but then it's finding that balance of we need someone good enough, but also someone that's going to be happy being just a backup.
It's tough. It's tough.
Not good enough for me.
No, it's a tough position to find because there's limited players. If they get all the way to the Premier League, they're going to want to play. They've gone through so much. They've come up. They're going to want to play. So finding that player is great. It's normally like a keeper that's had a bit of a good career and is on the tail end. I think that's the best circumstance for that. Or Kelleher, for example, like up and coming, playing for a good team, getting a lot of good experience, watching Alisson every day. Probably one of the best keepers in the world. I don't see that as a bad thing, for sure.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that one. I guess who else we got to talk about? We got Forest getting beat 5-0 by Fulham. Do we think Forest, like we said before, they maybe going to creep back into that relegation fight?
If they're not careful, they will. They got a big job on their hands, I think, because once you lose 5-0, confidence goes down.
They're also missing a one up top, who's obviously huge for him. Is the goals, isn't he? You know, they've been playing Chris Wood. Today they tried Origi and then brought on Wood after 50 minutes. Like Wood, I've seen him at Leeds. He's not a Premier League striker. He's an old school. You know, like maybe if you were playing Tony Pulis, Stoke, Kenwyn Jones, Peter Crouch type football, Rory Delap, long throws. You know what I mean? He ain't going to create out. He's just a big lad that hopefully can nod something in.
Do you think Steve Cooper goes? Because there's basically they're owned by the same guys who owns Olympiacos, right? And he's 48 hours ago fired the Olympiacos manager, and apparently he's fired 3 managers for them this season already. So is he? He's
one that's been backed, though, isn't he? Like when you talk about backing a manager, like. There were a period in time when they came up, they bought like 40 new players and it wasn't quite working out. They gave him a new contract and then, but then they stayed up and then they said they'll back him even more. So it was nice to see a team coming up that, for me, stuck with a manager because you have all these teams like Farker, who's now at Leeds, had it a couple of times. He's come up for Norwich and then haven't been given, you know, sometimes a fair run. Or there's been managers that have been sacked like 2 months into the season. I'm like, what can he do? He's got a championship team up. I'm like, what more can you do? Like, all you can do is give them time. They've done a job for you to get to this point. So it was good to see Forest for me. Whether they can move on now and say, okay, we maybe can pitch ourselves as a kind of a team that could be, you know, cemented in that middle table if we get the right guy in. Like Bournemouth, I think Bournemouth's manager's great. Areola, that's who Leeds were trying to get. I think now his system's coming into play, his players are working for him, and he's got Adams, and once that midfield set, I think they're going to be a real problem. I do agree with you. I do agree with you with the manager staying. I think if you look at it last year, the teams that I would say gambled and went for the new manager bounce, they got relegated, and the teams that kept their managers, like Forest, they actually stayed up. And you do like to see it a bit more. I feel like it is a gamble when you do get a manager in for the last 2 months, even 6 weeks sometimes. It's a huge gamble.
I don't think Marsh should have gone at Leeds either. Similar situation where he was just starting to get the style of play he wanted and the players behind him. And I mean, the players came out after this Forest game and in the press conference, just watching it before, basically was saying this is not fair on the manager, this is on us. Like, we basically saying like, please don't fire him, you know, like, which that doesn't happen very often. And I think he's a big favorite of the players. Like he seems to have a really good management and relationship with the team. So yeah, I think you'd actually probably piss off the players more than anything by firing him, and I don't know who else you're going to get as well. You've got to have someone like this. So we messed up because you didn't have anyone lined up. You just assume because now you're a Premier League team that people are going to, you know, that Areola is now at Bournemouth, but he was 6th in the table at the time with Vallecano. I'm like, why is he going to, just because you're in the Premier League, why is he going to stop a European fight with a Spanish squad to come battle relegation and basically tarnish? If he don't keep us up, then he's a championship manager, then he might not be able to get to. I don't know. It's a tough one with managers. Unless you get Scott Parker back in the Prem. But it's like, I mean, that you've got to have an idea. And also, I think social media is such a crucial thing now. We sort of grew up in a time where, like you say, anyone coming out now, the players we're talking about that coming out that essentially have got these United managers fired, and Ten Hag could be on the chopping board because these players aren't happy. We never used to have that. It always used to be the managers say if anyone came out against Ferguson, the club would back
Ferguson over the players. And now we seem to have this, that the club's backing players over the manager. So you have this constant change of managers because there's no set system where it's whether these players are such an influence over other players, you don't want a disturbance, or they're earning so much that it's easier to get rid of the manager. But social media has such I think, a big impact now, because my dad were actually saying when Leeds were in, when Marsh were in, he said if you actually go to the ground and because he went every week, and he said the buzz around the ground were great. We might have been losing games, but you could see sort of a style or players being implemented. He said that the people around the ground, it's then when you go online that you see these fans that are not going to the games, that are slagging players off, the slagging teams off, and it's like the clubs now get forced because there's such a overwhelming hype of people online. You know, someone has a bad game and they're memed up and they're like, he's shit, get him out, and it's actually not real fans. It's not the ones that travel away days and travel.
It's not representative. I think that happens in all factions of life. The loudest people get the most attention, but that's like the top 5, 6, 7%. Yeah. And that's not representative of what actual people like. So I think if they should not pay attention to it. It's happened at Man United. It happened at Everton, you know, when they're trying to get a new manager after Frank Lampard. No, when they signed Frank Lampard as manager, I think it's some manager from Turkey, they were trying to get in, and, you know, there was like graffiti in Liverpool saying, no, not this guy, or up Frank. Like, they wanted Frank Lampard, and that didn't turn out to be the best decision. So
yeah, Frank's one I could go on about. As a player, I think he was one of the best. I do think he was given a championship side that should have maybe got automatic promotion. You know, they had Abraham up front, they had Harry Wilson on the wing, they had Tamari at centre back, they had Mount. Like, that team stacked for a championship side. Like, you can look at it now in perspective and say, all right, these players are now top tier players, but at the time they were still better than championship players. And he didn't even get promoted, got 6 in playoffs, just great playoffs. Leeds should have beat him, and then gets the Chelsea job from there. Like, for me, it was never. You needed time as a manager. You can't just. We're in a world now where we're bringing all these players in. We can talk about Company. Everyone was saying, "Oh, Company's the next big thing for the job he did at Burnley." No one expected Burnley to, I guess, kind of struggle like they did. They were the one team that most people picked because of Company, because his style, because of the way they played. They want a typical team coming up that's just going to sit back. They play out from the back, they play possession based, but we've seen it done. You know, these ex-players, the only sort of ones that are really taking off. Alonso's doing a great job for Leverkusen. He's surely, I think some of them are just wired maybe a little different. They can see in a different sense from player to manager. Some of these players, Rooney's had it, he's been at DC and he's now at Birmingham, which were questionable. These players sort of, I don't know, like, do they are they good crossovers? Do they need to build up their manager resume before we're all shouting for him to get the top jobs? Because the legends or you still as a manager need experience.
What has happened with Lampard and Gerrard and even Solskjaer, really. Like, they've blown up to basically being massive managers from not really having a resume. So I think the people who are more legit are the ones who are kind of grinding it out. And I don't know, I feel like Rooney's a bit on the fence, undecided. He's not really doing it at Birmingham at the moment, but he's had some good moments, but at least he's like down there in, you know, in a championship club. He's not straight into like Everton.
Well, yeah, he did Derby, didn't he? He was player manager, and then he went to DC. Didn't really do a job at DC.
I think he enjoys DC more than managing there. To be honest, I heard he has a few good nights out. He loves the karaoke.
I mean, yeah, if you're an ex-player, America seems like a great place to go because, like what we were talking about, I mean, the league's not as intense. It's a different time frame as well. They play their season's totally different to majority of Europe.
I'm sure Messi's loving it.
America, bro, yeah. I mean, who don't want to be in Miami or New York? Or if you're on decent money, these are some of the best places in the world to be. And if you're not on a strict the media is different as well. If the media is not for in England, we're ruthless. We are so much more ruthless than anywhere else in the world.
It's also like in the US, you can walk around and nobody knows who you are at all because there's not that many people who follow the sport in the US. I mean, obviously, if you're Messi walking around Florida, everybody's going to know who you are.
I mean, he's an exception. Like you say, Rooney, I'm sure he's all right walking around DC and having a few pints and a meal.
I'm sure, yeah, having a bit of a sing-song.
Him and Joe Biden having a little nash away.
Did you boys see, I guess talking about a couple of England boys, did you see the women's Great Britain team? So basically, they didn't qualify for the Olympics, I don't think. So basically, Great Britain, because there aren't enough players from like England, Scotland and wherever to put in the side, they basically pick a national team to basically be the ones to hold the mantle to qualify for that year. So this year was like we're picking the England team, acting as the Great Britain team for Great Britain to qualify, and then you can basically put all the other players in. So basically they select one sort of nation to be the representation of Great Britain for the qualifiers, which is strange. And England actually won. I think they were behind Netherlands. They had to win the last game. They won 6-0. And they didn't qualify because of goal difference, because Netherlands scored 2 goals in the last couple of minutes to win 3-0, I think. So they won 6-0 and then still didn't qualify for the Olympics.
Wow, that's rough.
Which is, I don't know, record-wise, whether we've qualified most years that the women's teams have been playing, but it seems like for an England team not to qualify with the players that you think we have, like we've caused problems the last few tournaments, you know what I mean? We've even won big tournaments. Like,
that's a really weird qualification rule, though, that you just bang one of the
you select one of the nations.
One of the nations, yeah.
I guess it's just not. Maybe it's to do with schedules. Maybe I don't really know, because they're still playing, right? Are their club team still playing right now?
Yeah.
It just mirrors the men's game. Sure.
But what is that? What happens with the men too? Like you just randomly have one of the countries qualify? Because I thought the rule was that you could only have 3. You can only have like 3 players over 21 or 23 or something in the Olympics.
I'm pretty sure it's over 23 professional players.
Yeah,
like pro players. Yeah,
this is strange to me. It's always confusing when it gets down to like England or GBR or like.
Yeah, I mean, to win 6-0 in a game that you have to win to qualify, it don't get much more dominant than that, does it? But then
the Scots really want to play in our team?
Do we all want to? I don't know. It's Olympics, isn't it? Women's probably a little different, but do you want to play with the? Anyone see?
Boys,
sorry, just jump. Sorry, go on.
Before we go, I'm going to take 1 minute. Okay.
All right. Yeah. All good. Yeah. All good.
Need a was.
So I don't think I've ever seen that. I guess we'll bring it up before it comes. But did you see the Hamburg on goal? I don't know how to put it in the group, but possibly if no one's seen this, it was in a big derby. We could probably pull it up before Jen gets here. Probably the best own goal I've ever seen, which we can talk about, I guess, maybe own goals that we remember, or if there's any, I guess, kind of specific ones, which I don't really have any from. You have any? Have you got it up? It is the best own goal you've ever seen. If no one's seen it, please do Google it. I think it's Hamburg in the derby. Basically, the centre back passes it back to the keeper. He goes to belt it out, but it bobbles just before, and he ends up kicking it in the top corner of his net.
That's right.
In a derby game, I think, which is unbelievable. So I'm trying to think now of best sort of own goals.
Best own goals.
You remember any? I remember a kid that I used to play Sunday league with. And we used to have a derby against like the local team. And And one of the kids scored an overhead kick from the edge of his own box as an own goal. He went to clear it and somehow overhead kicked it in, and an unbelievable goal. Even Sunday League, I'm like, you've never seen a goal like it. But the problem is he put it in his own net. Went for clearance. But the hammer, the poor kid, obviously coming into school after that, scoring an overhead kick, own goal in a local derby game. Unbelievable. Sorry, Jay, we were just talking about, for anyone also listening as well, I don't know whether you saw the Hamburg on goal. I think it was in a big derby game. It was one of the best on goals I think I've ever seen. So we were just saying, is there any on goals you remember that have been kind of a good on goal? Good. I remember iconic ones, like I remember Woodgate were on his debut for Madrid. Maybe a couple games in, I remember he got on goal. Some tough ones. There's not worse than an on goal, man. As an outfield player. Have you boys ever scored an on goal?
I've never scored an own goal. Ziggy must have, yeah.
You scored more on goals than goals.
Yeah, that's not even. Yeah.
It's the Jamie Carragher effect.
I've definitely had. I think I've had 2 own goals, and I've had probably 1 goal.
Oh yeah.
Nah, I must have scored more than that. I don't know.
I've cup final. I had one of my teammates handballed it on the line to save a goal.
Nice.
Which
Suarez.
didn't end up because he got Luis Suarez style, but he ended up getting sent off, and then they scored the penalty. So that was actually the cup final was in MK Don Stadium, which was quite nice little appearance there.
It's all right.
But but our centre back handballed it on the line, tried to cheat the ref basically, and ended up losing 4-1.
Did he get a 80 quid red card or whatever it was?
I don't know if it was 80 quid that then.
No, I think it was like 16. They were like 8 for a yellow, 16 for a red, I think, back in the day.
Oh yeah. Still, that's like a week's dinner money, isn't it? Well, for you boys, it's probably like an hour.
An hour's dinner, man. How many dinners are we having today?
I don't know. Sorry, bro, what were you saying?
Can't remember now. What was I saying? No, I did get a 50 quid fine for a straight red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my worst, yeah.
I mean, we spoke about it. It's tough to get a straight red on there. Talking about red cards as well.
Wait, what did you do for that first? Tell me.
It was just a tackle. Straight up tackle.
Yeah. It's not. It can't be just a tackle. It's got to be a little to get a red in a Sunday league. There's got to be some studs or it's on the knee or something.
It was a midweek under the lights game. I was playing for a reserves team, for a men's team, like semi-pro. The ref, I got fouled. The ref didn't give it. It was like the 4th time that happened. I was pissed off. I ran and got the guy a bit in the tackle, a bit of a slide tackle.
Just clipped him. A little bit. He got half a ball as well.
Just clipped him. I got sent off. That game actually ended up 9 versus 9. It was a crazy game.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Someone got rough.
That was Luton. That was against a Luton team.
That sounds about
actually
right.
That might have been a Luton Town reserves against.
Oh yeah.
So but we won 4-0. So
that
crazy game.
Glazers can never walk again. He's got his leg in a brace, but it's all right. 4-0. What I was going to say, talking about red cards, have you seen the Premier League? Don't know whether there are any today. He's already beat last season 4 red cards this year. I think there's been 31 or 32. The all-time record was in 2003, I want to say. I should look it up. I did a while back. I think it was around 70. Obviously, we're not even, I guess, halfway through the season, so we're on for the record. Again, that plays into maybe VAR as well coming into it. But to have more red cards already in November than the whole of last season is mad.
It's the time wasting.
Yeah,
probably going to beat the record. They're not going to change the time wasting rule. They're definitely going to keep implementing it because they have to keep the consistency.
There's so many shit yellows.
Yeah, so it's not fun to watch. It's not fun to watch. It's ruining the game a bit.
Reece James the other week, first yellow, just palm, or kicking ball away, or just it's just a poor yellow, and then they make a challenge, which is not a bad challenge, but then it's a second yellow, and it's
just there's cards for everything nowadays, and
I like that if it's implemented right, though. I don't understand, like, this time wasting stuff. One official seems to implement it and he's giving them out. Or when it first were introduced, a few weeks ago, it seemed like it were really ticking over. Everyone were getting booked for time waste. People getting booked for time wasting like 10 minutes into a game. I was like, all right, if this is done right, it can help the game flow more and keep it going. But then you have periods of time where, hang on a minute, he stood on throwing line and he's not throwing it, and we still find ways to waste time outside of that. And then it's the factor that then if I'm already on a yellow and I do the same thing, it's like the ref's probably not going to give it because you don't want to send someone off for time wasting twice.
Yeah.
So then there's even more of a little leeway. It's a tricky one.
I mean, there was a situation in the United game today where Shaw was on a yellow and he kicked the ball away, and I mean,
we're in a yellow where that happened.
Yeah,
I didn't realize we were in a yellow.
Like, you don't want to risk it nowadays because you get booked for that easy.
Yeah. So maybe we're a record-breaking season in plenty of ways. You don't want to see it though. Like you said, like you're saying about penalties last week. Every game's just going to have a penalty in it. We don't want to see that. It's got to be a rare occurrence. Same with a red card. Like, it just ruins a game. A red card is the same, if not worse, essentially ruins a game. It ruins it tactically, stylistically. You ever watched a big derby game and you're like, it could have been a red, but you basically, even as a neutral, you're saying, don't give a red, don't ruin the game.
Yeah. There's so many games where I think back and I'm like, wow, like, that game was just ruined because it was such a fun game and then just destroyed because of red card from nowhere. Like, the one that comes to mind was the United Madrid game when Nani got sent off, and it would just started to be an unreal game and then just red out of nowhere, and it was just like, yeah, kind of bad, I guess, but like you don't want to see it unless it's like really necessary.
But also, if you're on the other side, sorry, go on.
No, sorry. Just flashbacks to the Champions League final, Tottenham, Liverpool. That was horrendous.
Yeah, there you go.
They gave a pen early, and in even what was it? Not so long ago against Chelsea. Two red cards. Early red card. It was a great game. It was a great game, and then I mean, it still was a great game.
It still was for 80 minutes, wasn't it, before Jackson scored his hat trick in last 5 minutes.
Yeah,
but yeah, like you say, if they want that, or there were only one red card, it might have been a more competitive game in the sense. I mean, even with 9 men, you could have done a job. I guess we can look ahead at some of the games. I know you boys are playing tomorrow. Sticking with you boys.
Big game against West Ham.
For people listening, we've got Spurs at home to West Ham, and we've got Everton at home to Newcastle. 2 very interesting games. This is probably going out tomorrow, so it'll be able to go out. We can give a few predictions on that, and then we'll go across to the weekend games, which we might be doing a watch along. Later on, we can figure out maybe for that Arsenal game, the later game. But Spurs, West Ham, what are you thinking?
I think Tottenham will struggle, to be honest. Still got a few injuries galore. I think Romero's back, which is gonna, it's gonna help the Ben Davies, Emerson Royale centre back partnership. It's been insane how
City
Emerson,
pinpointed him, didn't they?
They
pinpointed him big time.
As soon as they passed it to him, controlled the ball, City was straight on him. It's, I was a bit shaky. He's a bit shaky at right back, so playing him centre back against Haaland's a bit ridiculous. West Ham, I think we'll struggle a little bit. I hope to get over the line, but Tottenham's form recently hasn't been great. So I don't know. It's going to be a bit of a nervy game.
Our boy Højbjerg's back in. We were talking about him the other week. I know you got some injuries, but it seems like he's back in the squad for now. The lineup prediction so far, we've got Porro right back, Romero, Davies centre back, Udogie left back, Højbjerg, Basuma, maybe Holding, Kulusevski, Celso in that 10, Johnson and Son. I think it's tough. I actually picked West Ham at the start of the season to finish in the bottom half. So they're just kind of lingering on that. They had a great start to the season. They were like 4th at some point, weren't they?
They drew against Palace, but they before that were on a 4-game win streak. So, I mean, that includes two Europa League games.
West Ham, the 9th, they've got Brentford and Chelsea behind them, and Fulham coming up, and Wolves all on 18, 19 points. You boys, game in hand. If you win this, you will actually go joint on points with City, which is mad to think City are 4th. United are on the same amount of points as Spurs. You've got Villa in 3rd with 32, Liverpool with 34 in 2nd, and Arsenal 36 at the top. I don't know. I think you can get. I think European football is definitely playing a factor on West Ham's squad for sure. They don't have the rotation up top. Bowen has to do a lot. They let Scamacca go, and Antonio don't really.
Antonio's injured, which recently
he don't do a job either for me. Yeah. I don't think he's.
I think he's always a presence. Though. Imagine playing against him. I'd be terrified.
He's quick. He's strong.
A unit, quick and strong. I think when he's on form, he can do a job. But I think maybe his development's been great coming from right back.
How old is he?
To a striker.
He's 33.
Yeah, he's getting on.
At some point, he's going to lose that pace.
Bowen's been pretty good this season up top, though.
Now we've got Kudos in as well. He's a problem. I think he was a steal by the looks of it.
I think Alvarez is really class as well.
Yeah, and Souček. They've been teetering with Souček, kind of pushed a little further forward. I want to say. I don't really know. Sometimes the system changes. I'm sure Souček a couple of times played a little further forward. He's actually got some goals recently, some key goals. Turned up against Burnley again.
The predicted lineup has him in the 10. So.
But I think them predicted lineups for anyone listening. If you don't bet on football, the predicted lineups are horrendous. If you're on SofaScore, FotMob, or they'll tell you one thing and then 2 minutes into the game it'll all whip around. So if you think, that's the opposition, or it's tough. Don't take into account too much on the predicted lineups from the apps, because I think it's all AI generated rather than.
Are always better.
Do your research or watch the teams. But I think you can get a job done for sure. I mean, if we're throwing a prediction out there, I'd like to see, I think, maybe like a 2-1 Spurs, something like that.
I would say that. I'd say that's accurate.
I think maybe a little over. I don't think it'd be crazy. I think you could get maybe over 2.5, maybe both teams to score again, something like that, maybe. I think ones to watch are Kulusevski and Lo Celso, both on a bit of form, both with a bit of goals. You called it a couple of weeks ago.
I've called it. I'm calling it again now. So let's see.
Continues. I mean, he's got 2 in 2. He seems to that were key, man. That's such a key position to lose Maddison and then have someone like that fill in. I think he's done well. Everton at Goodison with Newcastle with their. I guess with their injuries, they've still got a solid 11. Newcastle, Goodison will be rocking. I think that'll be a tight, tough game. Like Newcastle, I don't think really they did a job against United. I don't think they're out special though. I thought they did what they needed to do to get that win.
I think
when's the big when's their big Champions League game? So the Champions League game is the 13th, so next week. So they have Everton away, then they have Spurs away at the weekend, and then 3 days after Spurs away, they've got Newcastle, Milan at home at St James's Park. So maybe, I don't know, maybe they're looking ahead at sort of other games, but I've been heard they've been linked with a few players in January to try kind of cement that Champions League football. It looks like they could struggle to get through the group, so their aim is probably focus on the league and get it again for next year. Which do we think that's possible for Newcastle? You think Newcastle? I think there's a lot of competition. Could they get
stepped up this year?
I think Europa. Europe. I mean, injuries have done them dirty. I think Europa's possible.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't write them off, but it's definitely tougher than last year. There's way more competition. Villa are thriving. I mean, you got Tottenham, Man United just there as well. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, especially with Pope out now. Like that's if they don't remedy that situation, I think. If they start playing a lot of games with Dubravka, it's going to be problematic at best.
I think they're probably looking at filling that straight away out, and the link with Phillips maybe as a Tonali replacement. I think Phillips might be a good fit. I think Eddie Howe will be able to get.
He hasn't had game time in so long. I don't.
Southgate will give him some.
Yeah, exactly. That just worries me. Like he's literally just been a bench warmer for so long. Like I don't think I've even seen him play in City. Like I'm sure he has, but I just haven't watched him play there for like.
Yeah,
I mean, Newcastle's a good move. Newcastle's a good move.
I think it would be a benefit, but I think it's a bit of a risk on their part, no?
Alone?
Yeah.
I think City will probably be happy with that. And then they get Tonali back in 10 months. So if he can do a job till the end of the season, and then he can maybe get a move somewhere that are actually going to... Because I rate him. I do think he's good. We saw it for England as well. He got voted best player in Euros for England. So he's got that quality over Rice, you know what I mean? He's definitely... I think City were always a bad move. As a Leeds fan, getting, what do we get, 45, 50 mil or something? It's not bad. I guess we'll do, before we send off, we'll have a look at the weekend games. Maybe sort of give you our opinions. To start off, on Saturday, we've got Palace, Liverpool. Liverpool not really convincingly getting a job against Sheffield United, but they got the points out of the way. Palace, did they lose to Bournemouth today?
2-0, I think I read that they got booed off as well.
I like Bournemouth today. Plenty of value on that, or on Bournemouth goal for a lot of things.
Off? Wait, who did? Palace.
Palace, yeah.
Wow.
I'm not sure why. I mean, they're doing all right, but maybe it's poor performance.
And they've had key players out. You know, Ez is out again, I think, and Elise is back, though. Makes a difference. They had some chances there against Bournemouth in that first half. It's hard to look past Liverpool. Early kick-off, but hard to look past Liverpool in that one. I guess Palace is always a tough place to go. So maybe a low-scoring game, but maybe Liverpool come out firing because they didn't put that many past United. Brighton, Burnley, that's an interesting one. Brighton at home.
Brighton tearing it up. Even with their injuries, I still think they're just... we didn't get the win over Chelsea, but Brighton, I really like the look of them every single time I watch them. And yeah, they're playing absolute youth team right now, but...
Yeah, nearly minus 200 on the books, so the favourite for sure. You think Burnley can score? I had Burnley. I like to score against Wolves. Create a couple of chances, but a bit of a drab game. Huh?
Maybe a Brownhill goal.
Yeah. So yeah, guess Brighton on that one. United at home at Bournemouth. I think that's a tough game. You know, I mean,
Bournemouth saw good form. Semenyo's look naughty.
Yeah, and Sinistera's now back. Cine, once they get that midfield sorted, they're holding midfielders, so they don't have to really play Christie there, or like an Adams comes in. I think it's a great fit for that type of side. They're attacking players as well. Clivert, Semenyo, Solanke up top, Sinistera, like they're under the radar. The attacking players they've got for sure for me. I think that maybe both teams to score in that one. I think Bournemouth. Yeah, I've been backing Bournemouth at a goal. The value on the books has been big the last couple of games. I think they could maybe sneak one in that. Let's have a look at the odds. Bournemouth are plus 400 as it stands now. Plus 333 for a draw. Maybe sneak a draw if they put them under pressure. I don't know what their away form's like, but they have won. They've not lost in the last 4 games, 3 wins and a draw. And United have won 4 out of 5. Just Newcastle at the weekend, which is a drab game. Who else? We've got Sheffield United, Brentford. Brentford on the road have not been playing great, as we've seen again today. Brighton won. Sheffield United doing it. Yeah, that's a tough one. It's tough to look outside Brentford for that one. Minus 150 they are on the books. Any thoughts, Jaden, on any of these? Any stand out to you?
I think like you said, Bournemouth made. I wouldn't say it's a surprise, but maybe you get a bit of value for your money betting on them. Definitely could do a job. Man United don't look, they're shaky for sure.
Maybe a spread as well. You could get probably Bournemouth plus half a goal or plus 0.5 and drop it in a parlay with something else.
And yeah, their attacking threat is decent. And I did actually see recently Solanke's recorded the fastest speed this season in the Prem.
Solanke.
35. Solanke. I was surprised, but
I saw something on Twitter the other day, and it said that the quickest, it had like the quickest players for each team, or some other person has clocked the quickest speed for each team, and there were some strange shouts. I think Van der Ven was Spurs'.
Yeah, he's rapid, man.
One.
He's rapid.
But there were some weird ones. I'm like, there's no way he's the quickest. I'll have to pull it up, but there's no way that I was like, he's the quickest
player of the month.
75 pace.
Player of the month. Jesus Christ. Wolves Forest. Wolves tearing it up. I think Molineux's a tough place to go.
Forest
at home. Forest away, one of the worst away teams since they've come up. They can't play it. They don't play away like they do play at home. They're one that home ground makes such a difference for them. I've been looking at what's Wolves looking at that.
Also, actually,
Wolves nearly even money.
Wang Yi-chan is in quite good form actually at the moment. His last goal. Really,
I think
really
8 goals. 8 goals already this season. It's like maybe looking at nearly 20 this year for him.
He'll be catching Haaland up.
Well, you never know.
He'll be replacing Haaland when he goes to Madrid.
Yeah, I mean, Forest have lost the last 4 games.
It's not looking good.
Wolves have won 2 out of 3, but they've also played at home. They beat Spurs, beat Burnley, drew with Newcastle, drew with Villa, beat Man City. So I actually think there might be decent value. So to get Wolves at nearly minus 118 right now, I imagine that's probably going to drop, maybe minus 130, even more. Because Forest away, I don't see. Maybe look at mixing a Wolves in, and then the last game we are talking about Aston Villa against Arsenal.
Yeah.
Tough late kickoff, 12:30 kickoff. Villa at home, just done a serious job against City. Arsenal, we spoke about that Luton game, but they didn't. They've not. Sometimes, a lot of times this season, they've not played the best football. If they're not up to the best football, Villa at home, not an easy feat, man.
I'm calling it now. Ziggy's hot takes. Villa win.
You want to know the odds? Villa are plus 240 right now.
Leon Bailey to score again.
Arsenal are plus 104 and a draw is plus 260. I think there's I'd maybe even look at a Villa double chance. You could probably get maybe just below. I don't know. Maybe decent mixable parlay money.
Definitely should be our watch along.
I think that's probably one we'll aim for. No. Yeah, and we'll probably throw something in. And then Sunday, we have got Everton at home to Chelsea. It's a tough game. Goodison, again, going to be packing, roaring and up for that one. Chelsea need some points, man. They look like they came back. And Kunku maybe starts in that one.
Seems to be back in contention.
Maybe that one's both teams to score because Chelsea can't keep anything closed at the back right now. Fulham at home to West Ham, Luton at home to City, and then we've got your boys against Newcastle at home as well. So 2 home games for you boys as well, which is nice. Newcastle also have to focus on Milan 3 days after that, so it might be a good timing for you.
I do fancy our odds there because of their injuries. They're looking at Milan.
Yeah,
I think it'd be good.
You think Luton can pull one out against City?
You never know.
It's a form team against a not in form
I mean, they've got.
So.
It's a bad time to play him because Pep is going to be at him after that Villa performance. 2 shots all game. He's going to be at him. Like Luton are going to be like, this could not be a worse time.
It might be like an 8-0, to be honest. They might just destroy them.
Luton are plus 1,600.
Kenilworth Road's an absolute fortress. Come on.
City right now are minus 715. So If you want in a bet on that game, you're gonna have to search around for some value because there is none in the lines. Maybe a Luton spread plus 4.5 goals or something. Nah, don't listen to that one. That was just a joke, by the way. But if you are interested, if you are big on the betting side, I do have a betting page, UTA_betting2 on Twitter. I also sell cards on Whatnot, and I've got a TikTok, UTA_card collection. And do follow the pod as well. We are on YouTube, we're on Spotify, and on TikTok under Tea and Tackles. Any likes, comments, shares, subscribes, all the good stuff is always greatly appreciated. We're just getting going, but there'll be more stuff to come, more segments that we've got to look forward to that we're going to implement in, as well as more watch-alongs going forward, which we do live bets. So if you are listening, if you jump in the watch-alongs, we do talk about live goal scorers, live bets, so it does make a difference to be in them watch-alongs. Like I say, any love is greatly appreciated. Appreciate you boys being here, cool. And we'll catch you all next time.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.
Take care, boys.